What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Diabetes Daily Hustle podcast. On today's episode, I interview a special friend of mine, and this friend is the person who taught me what community actually means. And this person inspires me to become a better person in the diabetes community. He teaches me what community means. This is Chris Pickering, and Chris Pickering is part of an organization called the BetesBros. Now, Chris is going to get into what the BetesBros is all about, what their mission is. We get into music video ideas. Me and him both want to elaborate on, kind of collaborate and create for the community, and visions and why we think community is so important and why it's so important to not feel left out as someone living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes. Chris talks about his mission going and driving across the country essentially to give diabetic test supplies, and his hustle. Really, I admire his hustle so much in the community to reach out to so much people, to collaborate with a bunch of other creators in the diabetes world. And I was honored to interview him, kind of get to know his story essentially. So hope you guys enjoy this one.
Or so.
Right. I'm glad you made it, man. Thanks for really trying to make this happen.
Hey, not a problem, brother.
So I like to make these really casual and really, I already press record. And I do the intros on my own time, so we don't have to waste time on what you guys do, what you're about. But we'll have them, tell them what you guys are about. And do you like to go by Pick or Chris?
For me, it doesn't matter. Everybody in the sports world and with work has always called me Pick, just because for whatever reason they couldn't say my last name,
Right.
and so they just shortened it to Pick. And then, just people in the diabetes community, they call me both. Like the ones that when I was on Facebook knew me from Facebook, they just called me Chris. Others call me Pick. So it doesn't really matter either which way. I'm the same person regardless.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm really excited about this one because when I do these podcasts and I have a level of curiosity and there's so much I still don't know about you and what you guys are doing, it makes the podcast that much more exciting. Could you just give them a quick where you guys at right now with BetesBros? What is the main mission? Just give us a quick kind of who you guys are and what you guys are about.
Well, it all have to jump back a few years of where it all came about from. I went through a severe depression that literally nearly didn't come out of. I attempted suicide, and luckily that didn't go through, or I wouldn't be here today. And I was so alone in my diabetes at that point in time that I didn't know what to do. It's sad to say because diabetes is in my family. I had a total of 3 uncles and a cousin who all had type 1, and there's only one of those uncles living with it. All the other 3 had passed away from complications. So I still walk around with that hanging over my head, that complication has already got 3 of the members of my family, and it's soon to take the 4th. And all that compiled a few years ago, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to deal with everything they went through. I just want to end it now. And so that's what I attempted. And after that failed, I just got online one day, and I can't remember if it was Facebook or Instagram in its early stages, but I jumped in there and I started meeting other diabetics from around the world and started talking to them about everything. And I didn't go all the way into the suicide, but I talked about the depression, and I realized that I wasn't alone in that. And I was like, man, this is what I've been battling, at that point for 25-something years. And I was like, and these people understand me. And unfortunately, in Oklahoma, we don't really have a lot of meetups that happen, and diabetics don't really get together. And so, we were all walking around alone in our illness. So once I jumped online and I started getting involved in the community there, started reaching out, like I felt so much better because there were people to actually talk to about what I was going through. And then fast forward to a few more years, I met Ron, and then a little while after that, I met Nate. And fast forward even another year after that, I was sitting there with Nate, and I was like, we have fun with our diabetes, and we talk a bunch of crap about it, and we just enjoy it, and we enjoy our company together, especially dealing with everything we deal with because we can relate. I was like, why don't we put that out there into the diabetes universe and just have some fun with it? And the BetesBros actually truly started out as a joke, just a way to have fun, and we didn't expect it to turn into what it's turned into now. And as we started having some fun with it and put some videos out there, and we started having fun making some shirts and things like that, and people really started latching on. And it was when I submitted my story to Beyond Type 1, which was I survived an insulin overdose. And people started reaching out saying, I was just on the verge of doing this, and I read the story, and it stopped me. Or, I'm going through this right now. Can you talk with me? And so we started interacting with the community on a very deep level, and that were contemplating suicide and things like that, and helping them through that and show them the light, and that even in that darkest time, there's so much ahead of you. And I look back on that now. Here we are, almost a year later from when all that started, and we got kind of propelled into the online community with, we had the opportunity to go down to Houston. We got a call from somebody saying, hey, we need supplies. Do you know where we can get them? Right. And we rallied the community together. We rallied the Oklahoma City community. And, we took down tens of thousands of dollars worth of diabetes supplies to people that literally had nothing. And then we had a chance to take clothes and take another second trip down there with more supplies. And we started getting recognized and I can't tell you who started the term boots on the ground, but that's kind of where we really started taking shape. And with being the boots on the ground, we wanted to be very active in the community. We wanted to be reachable. We want when somebody sends us a message or comments on a post that we're responding to them. And so with all that, then some of the other organizations started reaching out. We had the opportunity to work with Beyond Type 1 on launching the Oklahoma DKA campaign and working with tons of pediatricians across Oklahoma doing that. Then we had the opportunity to, we've got the Harold Hamm Diabetes Center here in Oklahoma they put on a camp every year called Camp Blue Hawk. Camp Blue Hawk, now we're working with getting more kids to their camp. We had a chance to speak at the JDRF Type 1 Summit, and we're in the process of talking with ADA, working with them on some things. So we've got some of the big names in diabetes that, we're out there doing work with, and we're not doing work for them. They're not having us do work. We are working together, and we are being the community. And that's kind of where we stand on everything, is that it doesn't matter what banner is flying over the top of anything. There's all the organizations are great, and I have nothing bad to say about any of them. All these organizations combined, though, that's the community, the individuals, you, me, and the millions of others across the world. We are the community. And the banner that I fly personally and that the BetesBros flies is just, it's T1D. And it doesn't matter if you're with JDRF, if you're with Beyond Type 1, ADA, Insulin for All. I mean, we can go on and we can list all these amazing organizations,
Right.
and they do so many wonderful things. But at the end of the road, the banner that's flying above all of them is T1D, and so that's what we're going to support, throughout however many years, and we're hoping that, it's decades down the road, this is still going, and I hope that truly at one point in time, years down the road, that I get to hand over the reins of this organization to somebody with fire and creativity and a passion to carry on what was started last year and take it to new levels. And so, in a very long, roundabout way, I mean, to answer your question, community is our overall goal. And that's coming along with that is advocacy, early awareness, understanding the symptoms, and being support systems for anybody, whether they've lived with it like me for almost 30 years or beyond, or if it's somebody who was diagnosed 2 days ago. We want them to understand that there are tons of people ready to support them, and we have our irons in so many fires right now, or so many irons and so many fires, that still being such a young organization, we're not exactly sure what is going to work for us. And so we're working on numerous different projects to see where our true niche is. And once we find that true niche, that's where we'll focus at.
Right.
But we're going to continue on with doing multiple things and seeing how the community responds, seeing how the general public responds, and see what is going to work best for us as an organization.
Right. And I want to say, until there is a cure, there is community. You guys are such advocates for that, and there's something that I learned from you guys watching your guys' social media. You guys were probably one of the few that taught me community, and I have this crazy feeling that for a guy like me, when I first came into it, it was I want to be right. I want to tell people this is the way they should be caring for their diabetes. You guys don't have that. You guys we don't care for right or wrong. We just want to push for a cure and community. And that's what you guys taught me. You guys did not discriminate on, who was commenting, who was this, who was that. You guys truly care about the community. And when you got that response of, I read your article about insulin overdosing and you were the reason why I stopped. Like, what does social media, or just let's say community, play a role for people living with diabetes? What do you think about that?
Man, that is a loaded question. Of course, diabetes affects every portion of our lives. It's for so many of us, it is one of the greatest things because we have found the community, but at the same time, the illness itself can be so detrimental. Like with my personal story, dealing with suicide, in December, going blind in my right eye, and, I've got a few other complications along with it. And it's still, depression creeps in on a regular basis, and it's very hard to overcome. But somehow I manage, and one of the key in overcoming that is, first and foremost is my family, and then that extended family, which is the community. I've had the chance to meet so many amazing people within the community, from just the everyday T1Ds like myself, and then talking to parents of other T1Ds, and it's given me so much motivation that it would take the end of the world for me to stop, because it is my true passion. It's what I love doing, and no matter how bad diabetes may be, the community's got your back on it, and that's something that I can never give up.
Yeah, right, right. I'm serious when I say that. You guys really taught me what community is, and you guys are really, you have a crazy drive in the BDs, bro, to really go out there and create this community and put everyone together versus like, oh, here's JDRF's camp, here's Insulin for All camp. It's all together, and that's when I feel like the true power comes in. And I want to ask you, what is, your current like struggle right now with the project of BDs, bro? What are you guys currently working on that's a big obstacle to get to the next level right now?
We've got, well, our newest project is going to be the We Are T1D video, and the biggest struggle with that one is going to be, that's going to be more of a personal struggle, because I'm a perfectionist, and I want it to be amazing. And already, had the opportunity to work with you on one of the video clips involved with that, and we've had a few other people that have sent some in, and altogether there's going to be over 40 different video clips pieced together in this to send out a very powerful message, that, like we had the chance to speak on. It's going to be very empowering for the T1D community, but at the same time, it's going to be so much awareness for the general public. And that is our biggest project we are working on currently. Other things we have in the works, we have the opportunity that we're in regular contact with different NBA organizations and trying to see what we can make happen there. Love, the D'Antonis down with the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
Those, both Mike and Laurel, are some of the most phenomenal people I've ever come across, and I always enjoy having a chance to speak with them. And so we've got projects like that working. We're trying to work with some professional golfers on some other things. We've got, working with Jay over at Pickle the Beast and Sam Fold, and, kind of all of us working together and working alongside Slam T1D to get some more events going across the nation. Then there's the other things, JDRF galas or Type 1 summits that we're going to be more of a part of as time goes on. And then some of the big projects we are still working on is we are still in the process of creating the BetesBros Challenge, where we take on five guys or five people that have fully functioning pancreas that are celebrity status of some sort, that they battle 5 T1Ds, and whoever wins wins, and make it a really fun event and open to everybody. And people get to come out and meet some of these celebrities and meet, some of their favorite T1D people from the community.
Yeah.
And so we're in the process. That's going to be a longer process to get that up and going. And then we're we're working on a movie script currently with some of the other members of the community, and hopefully have that all said and done within the next year, and get that sent out to some of the studios and see if anybody's willing to pick it up and see real story of diabetes on screen instead of the jokes you see all over sitcoms and movies.
Yeah, right. I was actually going to talk to you about the music video ideas we had for the diabetes community, and then since you brought up the movie aspect, my whole thing I've been learning about with social media is the internet is the middleman. So basically, nowadays if you want to be an artist, and I'm not just talking about music, I'm talking about creators in general, they don't need an A&R or a gatekeeper to tell them, hey, this is the movie, or this is the person that's going to pop off. Really, the middleman is the people. So my push to you, I really want to get this idea is, we can create those movies and the music videos, but we got to consider YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, blah blah blah, all like MTV, CNN, CNBC.
Mm-hmm.
All those are attentions that we can't we can't really look at as small or underestimate. So, I have a huge passion for music. I love music, but not as much as diabetes, because I used to produce music, and I was like, you know what? Let me go hand in hand with diabetes and music production. And me and you, we were talking about this on Boxer. I was super excited because you were telling me how there's things we can do, like creating music videos and
Mm-hmm.
changing the lyrics from, you know, where the original song was to what we want to do. And for my vision, what I see it for is, here's how I see it, Chris, is I feel like when the views and the awareness goes bananas, like it really hits in a hard way, once we strike gold, we can cash in for huge awareness. You know what I mean? Like we can
Yeah.
really, like, I imagine myself just putting my chips and like pushing them to the front, going, all right, let's cash in here. What can we do for the community here? Obviously, it can't go straight to a cure, but it's that much of a push. And tell the audience what is going through your brain with the music video ideas. Like, what is your drive and your hunger? What do you see for that vision for the community and then awareness in general?
Well, music has been a driving force in my life from the time that I was a baby. I have I have lucked out with one of my uncles who is also T1D, was a professional musician for many years, and he has played with some of the greats in country music. Um, and so I grew up around all of that. And then, so country music will always be at my heart, just because that's what I grew up with. But then as I got older, you know, hip hop stuck with me. Especially when you deal with the late 80s, early 90s hip hop, when they were actually talking about real things happening in life. And you take that, that advocacy that they had. You've got, the guys like KRS-One, Tupac, Eazy-E. You've got all these greats that talked about real life and what they were going through and the struggles they overcame to be where they were. And for us as the T1D community, it's, how can you not relate to that? And even, country music, people like to make fun of it because of, how sappy it is, my truck, my dog, my beer kinds of scenarios.
Yeah.
But you think about it, we've all been in that spot that we lost somebody and we went driving around, or we picked up the guitar or whatever. And so in every form of music, there's something you can relate to. And then you get into the more pop culture of today. And there's the pump up music, there's all kinds of house music and all that. And the beat just gets you. And so I sit for hours upon hours at times, especially late at night, and I will just sit on YouTube and I will watch music video after music video after music video. And especially if I hear a hook, I'll be like, we can switch that up. Like, one of the ones that I'm in the process of rewriting right now is, what put Wiz Khalifa on the map, and that's Black and Yellow.
Yeah.
And so in the process of rewriting that, then, Thompson Square put out, one of their biggest hits a few years back, Kiss Me or Not. And we're changing that up to, almost a diabetes ballad. And so there's so many of those things that we're trying to work on, and that, music next to diabetes is always going to be my passion. And especially, really give credit to Weird Al back in the 80s and 90s with all his parodies, because he had so much fun redoing some of those songs.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I'll still go back to some of his videos now, and, almost as an inspiration. And if he can take hit songs and just make them fun and comedic, why can't we do the same with diabetes and popular music? Everything from some of the hits from 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. There's so many ways to spin those amazing songs into great diabetes songs, and that's really what I want to push for on that.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really excited for that, and I really hope in the not so distant future we can start working on that. And my vision for it was, or at least the way I see it is, you almost have to, capture your audience's eye in a way that's not boring and not like make a video, hey, we need community, click the link below. It's, making these kind of music videos where the kids, adults, everyone can relate, and there's that message at the end where you're so captivated, whatever message you're trying to push, but for us, it's creating that community. And I for the music videos I was talking about is there's a good mix between making them comedic where it's obviously not serious. There was this one idea I had. I don't know if you know this artist. His name's Gorilla Zoe, and he has a song.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There's a song called. I'm sure you know it. Then, I think it Echo. I don't know if you know Echo. But he's basically talking about leaving a chick and how she's alone in her own arguments. And I was thinking, you know what? Let me make a funny kind of serious video where the machine is looking at me, my blood sugar machine, and it's alone and it's Echo because there's a cure and I don't need it anymore. And then that's the funny version. Then the serious version is, it's a crazy music video idea I really, really want to get out. Basically, the whole premise of it is showing the world what the world looks like after a cure. So like the music video starts off, a news anchor on the news, they're like, oh, after many years of blah blah blah, we have finally found a cure for type 1 diabetes. And then you can see all the businesses going out of business, all the insulin going in the trash, everything going in the dumpster, and you can just see people's faces as shocked. And the music video starts from there, kind of the message relaying, you have your own echoes, diabetes. I don't, you're in the past. So you're kind of, I want to give them that vision to the point where these videos can hit thousands and thousands. Maybe if, God willing, if we work hard enough, it could be hitting millions of views. And we're doing what we love. It's a production company. And the ambition behind it is so powerful. You know what I mean? And I feel like with the BetesBros, that goes really hand in hand. The same thing can go for movies. They can go on YouTube, and the creation behind it is insane. Like what I guess I want to say, like, do you feel like after this awareness of these music videos and the movies, do you feel like people are going to be captivated to want to create more awareness, to push in the chips for community? What do you see for like the whole, I guess the end game of it is what I'm trying to ask you.
Well, for me, it's, I was diagnosed back in '88, and and I've talked to people that were diagnosed in the '70s and '60s, and a couple beyond that. And we've all heard there's going to be a cure in 5-10 years.
Yeah.
And for me, I've heard that countless times over the years, and not that I don't have hope for a cure, so don't get me wrong on that, because I believe there is one coming. But that's not where my focus is, because until the cure is, me standing in line for it, community is where it's going to be. And so the more that we can draw awareness to the community, and we can bring those people into the community, which is like with the video we're fixing to do all the editing on and get that released hopefully in April.
Yeah.
It's all about community. It took community to make this. By the time it's all said and done, there's going to be over 100 people in the community involved with this video. And with that, and having views is vital. Having the likes is vital, and all that, because you have to have the audience to have the awareness.
Exactly.
it's going to capture the diabetes community.
Yeah.
And we already know that. And, going back to, the BetesBros being about community, well, part of that community is reaching the general public as well. And for multiple reasons. We lose so many lives every year to misdiagnosis. People are getting sent home with the flu or strep throat or everything else, and they're really in DKA, and by the time they find out, it's too late. And that's where we want, especially with what we're doing with this next video, is we want people to see not necessarily the truly dark side of diabetes, but some of the things we go through, but then see who we are as a community. And, we lucked out with some of the people involved with this. The two of us are involved with it. We've got T1D Chick involved with it, Chris Rudin involved with it, Rob Howe, Beyond Type 1 is in the process of helping us out with the video. JDRF is looking at helping us out with the video. And so this is truly, it's a video where we have got some of the big names in diabetes and some of the everyday people in diabetes. And so, sorry. And somebody running up to the window.
I know, I'm like scared. Is he all right?
Yeah. But, and then we've got the up and comers in the diabetic community that are involved with this. And, everybody from parents to friends, we want to show that diabetes doesn't just affect you and I. It affects our family, our friends, our coworkers, the medical staff, everybody. I mean, with any one diagnosis, at a bare minimum, there's another 10 people that go along with that diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want to portray. And so, as it is being shared, we want everybody outside of the DOC to see that. We want the random teacher at such and such elementary in the middle of nowhere to understand that, hey, diabetes is relevant. So maybe down the road, they get a student that comes in, they don't know what's going on with diabetes, and all of a sudden they're like, I remember I saw that video. I saw the diabetes community. Let me go back to that. Let me see some of these people, and let me start getting in contact and start learning. And that's where, on the general public side, that we want it to work. Or if there's, somebody in a waiting room, and God willing that it's a trending video on YouTube or Facebook or whatever media platform there is, maybe it shows up in somebody's feed. They're in the ER, and maybe I should be checked for diabetes, and maybe there's a life saved from it. And that's what we want, is we want the general public to have, or to be more conscious about what type 1 is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we want all the members of the community to be empowered by this.
Right.
I know from my personal standpoint, if I wouldn't have seen some of the people in the diabetes community, like, one of my heroes in the community, Phil Graham, another one, Chris Rudin. You look at these guys that are just beasts, and they do it. They work their butts off to be where they are. And then you've got some of the other members. You've got like Rob Howe. I love Rob to death, and one of the most creative people that I've ever met. And then the same, like Lauren Bongiorno. You look at her. I mean, just the stuff she does, just with yoga alone, is amazing. But then you take her creative side that she does, and just her passion for life. Like, those are some of the bigger names that I would love to be like. But then you look at some of these newly diagnosed, like, Jax Langley is one of my favorite kids out there. And we actually just put him on the Wednesday Warrior here recently.
Right.
That little kid's 3 years old, and he's starting to mess around and give himself his own pins. Like,
Wow.
when I was diagnosed at 3 years old, I couldn't do that.
That's crazy.
And so you look at these young kids that are doing this stuff, and it's like, this is amazing.
Right.
That's what I want to be.
Yeah.
I want to be able to have the courage at any age to face anything thrown my way. And at the same time, I want to be an inspiration for the rest of the community. I want them to know that you're having complications with your eyes. Well, so did I. And it's, I'm not going to say it's easy. And there's times it absolutely sucks. I mean, it's seeing out of my right eye is next to none at this point in time. And maybe it gets better in time, but maybe it doesn't. And that's what I'm going to live with. And I want somebody to know that if they're going through that, all they've got to do is reach out.
Yeah.
There's somebody in the organization that will be able to respond. Won't be able to respond maybe right there on the spot, but we're going to be there some way, somehow. And, we wouldn't have started all this if we didn't have that passion for it.
Right. I get you. And Chris, I want to be respectful of your time. I don't know what's the time frame for, because I have a couple questions more for you. I don't know if that's pushing the time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you were saying, you mentioned, in my opinion, powerhouse names like Lauren. I'm a huge fan of her. Chris, Phil Graham, Rob, and what you guys, what I'm hearing from you is like, it's almost like you're bringing these powerhouses together to the point where, we're creating awareness for people who don't have diabetes, and then we're also empowering people who have diabetes. And that's been, my big spiel is empowering people who have diabetes currently. And doing both is just, it's like you said, like, you need the views, you need the likes, and there's no dirty ambition. There's not like, oh, I just want to be famous. Like, please, like let's take all the views we can, all the subscribers, because the ambition is it's so more meaningful. Because end of the day, diabetes really does suck. You know what I mean? Like, and when we don't have people like you, we don't have community, it makes it that much harder. It makes, like, just that depression just more susceptible to happen. And I want to, ask you, as everyone's hearing, like, just being super authentic, what can I do for me living in San Diego to create events with the BetesBros or contributing to videos? Because in my brain, it won't be ROI positive to like, I'm like, I'll go fly there to Oklahoma. Let's work on the music video. That's the first thing I want to do. But let's be really real. If we make the music video, it's only going to get, a couple views. We need to really, like, be smart and logical about, okay, what's the first step? How are we going to set up this video to make sense? Or how are we going to create an event first and then kind of, like, get the ball rolling? What do you think I can do, or what do you think we should do in a sense of, like, me and you and the BetesBros and try to get, everyone together for the next project?
One of the things that we're starting to work on is we've launched in Oklahoma City what we're calling Third Thursdays. And so the third Thursday of every month, the members of the Oklahoma diabetes community are getting together, hanging out, just relaxing, enjoying, and just being themselves. And we are looking at launching that in multiple cities in the next few months. Right now, we're working on some of the bigger nationwide franchises for food and fun that we can have these set up at. So there's one place to go, whatever city it may be, and then we're going to start linking these together, through, something like Google Hangouts, where people can just sit face to face. Maybe it's you never had a chance to talk face to face with such and such from Instagram, but they have a chance to sit down and talk with them and get these ideas shared out there. And so then when it is, doing a music video, it's like, hey, Ollie's got this going on. He's out in California. This is the date it's going to be. And the more and more we bring this community together on a regular basis and everybody starts getting connected, well, then it's such and such in SoCal or such and such in Washington or Texas that wherever an event is going on or a project is going on, they may have not heard about it, but one of their friends did that may be across the nation. They're like, hey, by the way, did you hear this is going on? It's right by you. Are you going to go?
Mm.
And that's what we want to see happen with some of this stuff. Like, with, especially speaking on, music videos and things like, there's actually a very big music scene still in Oklahoma, from, indie bands to hip hop artists, like, shameless plug for JB, out of Oklahoma City, and he started blowing up, and he's going to hopefully continue for many years to come. And, with guys like that are here in the area, and then, with especially like the huge connection to Houston, and with the guys from Relief Gang down there, you've got DJ Mr. Rogers, Trey the Truth, some of those guys, there's so many people that we could bring into this to really make it bigger stuff. And that's what we're going to try to do as time goes on. And then, one of the things, with the music, I absolutely love. But I'm a junkie for 80s movies. Everything, The Breakfast Club, Top Gun, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And you think about these, and there's so many iconic scenes in these movies. With, of course, Top Gun for me is my favorite movie of all time. And there's the scene where Maverick and Goose are playing volleyball. And so we're going to take that scene and we're going to recreate that and make it a funny diabetic video.
Yeah.
And, there's so many things, but it's going to take the community to pull all this stuff off. And that's what we want, is that anytime that we're doing a BetesBros production, like, we don't want it just the people involved with BetesBros, because with both the BetesBros and Betes Babes, yes, there are members of the actual organization itself, but you're a Betes Bro. Anybody who is a guy that is out there that's living with type 1 diabetes, they are a Betes Bro. And we want people to be proud of that. We don't want it to be where it's just, okay, it's just Chris, Nate, and Ron that are the Betes Bros. Because for us, that doesn't mean anything, because we may be the organization, but this spans literally every country across the world, and that every one of these people that live with it, that's who they are. They are part of our family. We're part of their family. And in order for us to do anything, we have to have them, and we want them involved in what we are doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say I really respect your hustle, so I want to ask you for advice for me. I do want to get to the creative process already. Like, I want to start writing. My friend, he makes music too. I have access to a studio. It's not a big problem at all. For tips for me, what would you say, because I can't do this alone, who should I reach out to for a good production in this music video? Where should I be messaging? I did a couple of DMs on Instagram where I saw, I don't know if you know this music video called Living with Diabetes with Ginger Vieira and Mike Lawson, where they remixed Young, Wild, and Free, but Living with Diabetes. It's really cool. What tips do you have for me in that,
Well, I would say reach out to Ginger. Talk to her quite a bit on Twitter, or have in the past at least. And she is sweet as can be.
Yeah.
And, don't get me wrong, she gets a lot of messages, so it may take a little while for her to get to you.
Yeah.
But she is an amazing person. I've never had the opportunity to work with Mike on anything or speak to him.
Yeah.
Or at least in depth on anything. I think other than a few maybe tweets back and forth, or Instagram comments back and forth. but start reaching out to some of those people. Rob Howe is a creative genius, and his skill with the camera is phenomenal. He's somebody to reach out to.
Yeah.
And then, reach out to the local music scene. Everybody wants to be involved with something that has meaning behind it. And so just talk to them about what your project is. Be like, hey, this is what I want to do. This is the message I want to send. And you would be amazed at the people that get involved. For us, that's how the Houston Rockets got involved in working with us on things. Is we made a call into just the Houston Rockets office, said, hey, this is who we are. This is what we're doing. This is what we're bringing to Houston. Let us help you guys out.
Yeah.
And they responded back, and that eventually got all the way over to Coach D'Antoni and his wife.
Wow.
And started that relationship there. So it's sometimes you just got to take a chance. And that's, we have reached out to, countless people, especially outside of the diabetes community. And there's plenty of them. They're like, diabetes doesn't affect me, so I don't have any interest in it. I'm sorry. But you have to respect that, because if it doesn't affect them, they don't understand the severity of the situation.
Right.
You find somebody that is affected by it, whether they have it or not, there's a little more drive for them to get involved with it. And so it's taking that chance. One of the first things that anytime anybody stops me out and about, especially, I am very big about wearing my Dex and my Omnipod where people can see it. And they're like, what's wrong with you? What is that? And it starts that conversation.
Yeah.
And then one of the first things that I ask anybody I'm speaking with is, do you know anybody with type 1 diabetes? Or has it ever affected you and your family? And, there's a lot of times you're like, yeah, my grandmother's diabetic. And, you've got to start discerning between type 1 and type 2.
Mm-hmm.
But it creates that conversation.
Right.
And you would be amazed at who gets involved. One of my favorite stories with when we first started with this whole thing is with Flying Pig Barbecue here in Oklahoma that, love their food. And we would go back and forth on Twitter, just kind of not really slamming each other, but just making jokes back and forth with each other and against each other. And one day I was like, hey, if you guys ever need a guest cashier, let us know. Diabetics are great at math. And they're like, we would actually love to do something together. And found out that the owner was a nurse for 25 years and worked with dialysis and worked with numerous type 1 and type 2 diabetics.
Wow.
And so because of that, there was a connection, and he had passion for what we were doing because he saw firsthand the results from complications.
Yeah.
So it's always, everything in life is all relational, and it's about building those relationships, and some are instant and there's instant connection. Others are building them from the ground up, brick by brick. And so you got to start working at it and just talking to anybody and everybody,
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is anytime that I'm at the pharmacy, lucky where the pharmacy setup is here is right next to the diabetes supplies. I will sit there and I will watch while I'm waiting in line for anybody to walk up to the diabetes area,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll just start a conversation. Be like, who do you know that's diabetic? And they'll be like, oh, my son or me or what have you. And then boom, it's, well, hey, if you ever need anything, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. And it creates that conversation. And then down the road, some of those people are going to reach out and be like, hey, we'd like to get involved, or this is what we need help on. And you make yourself available.
Yeah, I really don't take that advice small. It's a big deal. You helped me with that. And like my last couple things before we end off is I see that movie scene that you're talking about. I see everyone in the T1D community laughing and smiling, but at the same time, they feel like, yes, we have a voice, like we have content. And that's what I felt like I was so hungry for. I go on YouTube and I search diabetes. It's all about like, cinnamon and cures and maybe there's a
Mm-hmm.
couple vlogs or a couple videos, and that's what the contribution, I feel like we're trying to make is not only empower our T1Ds, but also, create that awareness for so people can know. And I'm telling you, man, I can talk for hours, and I really want to like harp on this more. I don't want to know how we can talk more about, you know, I'm gonna reach out. I'm gonna work on the music videos, and you all right? So I don't know what that sound is.
Hold on, Ollie. For whatever reason, it's static right now.
Oh, okay.
Let me try.
What I was trying to say is, I like my energy is high right now. I just want to like do all the stuff we're talking about right now. I think I'm actually gonna message Rob today. I've never really spoken with him, but kind of like say, hey, like maybe if I can get you on a podcast and get your advice on the podcast, and get some words of wisdom. Cause that's what's exciting me right now. I'm really excited for that. And like I'm just so personal questions. What are you currently obsessed with right now? It could be anything. It doesn't macro, micro, anything.
Man, I mean, my life revolves around. So, um, outside of that, though, like I am the worst golfer ever, but I will take every chance I can to go play golf.
All right.
And I mean, it just being with family and kids. I mean, that's the biggest part of my life. I mean, I spend hours going to the ball field watching my kids play baseball. Or, I've got one of my sons that golfs. I've got my 2-year-old that's just absolutely nuts. I luck out doing the beach pro full time because I get to spend all day with her. So
Yeah.
those are, I mean, those are my obsession.
Yeah.
My family.
Right. Right. Okay. Um, I mean, to end off a couple things. When you talked about going through depression, and I guess you can kind of agree with me, it was kind of a burnout, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. What would you?
It was.
I'm sorry. What you were cutting off? Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, it was a huge burnout
Yeah.
that I.
What I want to say is, let's say you got a kid coming up to you, and he's going through a burnout. What are your top three, top two things you would tell him? Those are the major three or two to help him overcome his barrier with diabetes burnout. Because as you know, it's a serious case, and he wants your wisdom. He's looking out to you. What would you tell that kid?
First and foremost, find somebody in the community to connect to. I don't mean just hopping on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. I mean, find somebody to actually connect to, somebody you can talk to on a regular basis, whether that's talking on the phone, message, messaging through any of the social media apps. Number two would actually go and get professional health. Um, you know, Seek out a psychologist. Definitely talk to your endo about it, psychiatrist, whatever. And number three, start setting goals, because when you have goals, you have something to push forward. And start out with some very simple goals. When I went through my process, literally, I had a list, and it get out of bed. I would hop out of bed and mark that off my list, and then it was go to work or go grocery shopping or something like that. They were all what seemed like minuscule tasks to everybody else, but for me they were huge.
Yeah.
But
I was completing tasks. I was making goals happen. And then I started setting bigger goals. And, and still to this day, I set huge goals. I was brought up with the mentality, shoot for the stars. I just hit the moon. And some of those goals may be absolutely unreasonable to most, but if they mean something to you, it's something to push for. And so definitely find a mentor, seek professional help, and then set your goals.
Yeah. Chris, I just want to say, man, thank you so much. Every day I see your guys' page, or when I try to connect with you guys, you push me to be a better person in the community. So truly appreciate what you do. Thank you so much, Chris, and I'm really honored to have you on.
Yeah, Craig is really easy to talk to. He's going to be part of the video as well.
Wow, okay.
And then, gosh, there's so many others. I mean, Lauren, go to her website and send her an email and be like, hey, these are the goals I have. And, since you're already doing this, kind of give me advice. And I mean, she's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
And she may be able to help you out. And then, look at, I would say reach out to Phil, but Phil is busy beyond belief. And so it may be a couple weeks before we get a response from him.
Yeah.
I like to think I have great state with Phil, and sometimes it takes 3 or 4 days for me to get a response from him. So, because if he doesn't, he literally sets aside 1 hour to respond to emails, messages, etc. And when that hour's up, so are the messages. And so depending on where you're at in the queue, depends on how long it's going to take get a response.
Right.
But yeah, definitely the easiest way is generally just shoot me a text. Get in going. That's where I have done so much networking. I mean, on my personal LinkedIn alone, I've got, I think it's close to 2,500 connections from across the world.
Wow.
So do that and just be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is the business I'm trying to run. This is whatever. And you'll start getting people responding. You'll get a lot of job offers out of the situation as well. So be prepared for that.
Yeah.
The right one comes, jump on it. But if not, if it doesn't suit your future plans, don't jump on something. Jump on something.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. I'm putting that out to the universe more. And like when I go to the event, I'm going to talk to them about the music video ideas and the people I'm trying to look for to work for. And yeah, man. So thanks so much. And again, Chris, let me know if you need anything. I'm here all the time, and I truly appreciate this. This is really good. And if you can, try to send me a photo. I don't know if you remember, of just like, how Craig does his podcast where he puts the black shadow over and I can write the text over. I don't know if you've seen my podcast promotions.
Mm-hmm.
If I can get a photo of you or the BetesBros, the three of you guys, to where I can shade it and then write down and kind of like promote it for Instagram, just send me anything, or I might just go stalk your page and take a screenshot.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I don't keep a lot of photos on my phone with doing all of the video editing right now because I'm doing that on the run all the time.
Yeah.
And so memory is not there right now. I'll see if I can find something.
Yeah, let me know.
Anything that's on Instagram, you're welcome to, man.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll talk soon, okay?
All right, brother. Take it easy.
All right, my man. Well, that was the episode. Thank you so much for listening. I truly appreciate it. I hope you guys got so much value from Chris. I really got to pick his brain. His heart is in the right place. And I want Chris to get all the numbers. I want him to get all the views. I want him to get it all, because when Chris wins, it's not only for him. He has selfless goals, and I admire that from him. Being an ambitious person like myself, it could be selfish sometimes, which is it's not the worst thing, but Chris teaches me the lesson of community. He is the definition of until there is a cure, there will be community. And I truly appreciate you guys listening in. I hope to see you guys for the next episode. I'm trying to do weekly podcasts, so appreciate you guys. Please do as much as you can to leave a review in iTunes. Let me know how I'm doing. We'll see you soon.